Yeah, the glimpse doesn't mean much in the absence of acceptance. We gotta and that acceptance is part of something that we're a bit lacking in. I'm not saying we, this group, I just mean in general in the non-dual community, is that we tend to be quite lacking in terms of the claiming our awakening. And I think it's something that you won't hear very often, but this claiming our awakening, trying to get my gallery back up. It disappeared for a minute. So the claiming of awakening is important, because if in its absence, you can claim your awakening and still move away from it, but you are less likely if you can begin to really. And it's not you, the person, the individual entity that's had an awakening. Of course, it's awakeness is awakening, but awakeness through the unit needs to acknowledge its own wisdom, its own relative wisdom, if you will. That it seems like it's wisdom that will play in the relative world, which is that it simply knows. Awakeness comes to know awakeness, and it comes to know that it is awakeness. And whenever we are suffering, it's because we've slipped from that knowledge. It's just that simple. I can find no other reason for suffering other than the fact that we have moved out of the proper identification. We have moved into misidentification as a unit. So this constant evaluation is what we really need to be moving working for, is the constant evaluation, because that's something you can do. You know, I can. It's not a practice; it's an attitude, and that attitude is simply the willingness to accept that the truth of non-duality. I mean, it doesn't have to. It sounds awfully deep and broad, but it is, because that acceptance is what takes you off of the tire kicking line, right? And it really is. That's what makes the difference. That's when that begins to happen. Is one leads to a little bit of acceptance will lead to more involvement, and more involvement will lead to more acceptance. It's just the way it works, and it is by degree, always by degree. I don't know of anyone who woke up and had a brilliant understanding of everything as they would know it 10 years later or 15 years into awakening. It's just we can only stand as much clarity as we can stand, you know, and we can. It kind of has to dribble out, because it's so completely different from anything that we expected, so to speak. Because the awakening dashes our expectations. I had when somebody breaks through these days, if they've I think they've got a good grip on it, then I'm probably going to say something like, "Well, now you join the list of my having disappointed every client that I've ever worked with," which is right, because they come to get that personality woken up. Fred wanted Fred to be woken up. I was sadly disappointed, but I wasn't sadly disappointed for long. It was because I was able to. In 2006, in 1992, I made a false claim. And the Fredness, the pattern of Fredness, claimed that it had woken up. So a non-existent character was taking credit for action within relativity, which is absolutely impossible. And with that, the clarity that had been shown to me disappeared, just disappeared. There might have been some brightness around the edges for a few days. I think there probably was, because even in my larger awakening, there was, or largest, the awakening, there was some immediate clarity, and then that began to dim, and we don't stay in that throes of that beautiful state. And that's what we want to do, because that felt so good. The unit said, well, why can't we just stay here? And because it's not the unit's job to be anywhere, it's the unit's job to be seen through. And
Mhm.
uh, so we can begin to embrace our our true nature.
Yeah, I'm starting to find that when I get when I'm like looking at acceptance, I'm getting away from trying to know it for myself and letting it be. And
The way you put that, yeah, getting away from trying to know it myself. Yes, Fred gets to live on in ignorance, right? And the because and it really, but he doesn't get to live on if we see through it clearly. But it's so weird, because that's what we want to wake up, is that character, the thing that wants to wake up, the thing that says, why can't I wake up, is the very reason why awakening cannot take place, is belief in this character. And so until we are willing to let go of the character and let go of that belief, so that we don't have to otherwise, we have to rerun that program over and over. We have to get another glimpse and see it. And then when we get that aside, the next glimpse, we go, oh, here it is. I remember now, and I could never forget this. I can't tell you how many clients have looked me right in the face and said, oh, no, Fred, I could never lose this. And then Wednesday, there'll be an email, or maybe 2 hours later, there'll be an email says, what was it that what was it that I got? I know I got some, but I just can't remember, says the character. And the character can't remember because the character was never there or anywhere else. That's the nature of it. It's it's frustration, but frustrating for awakeness coming through these units, but it must be okay from a awakeness at large, so to speak. That's what's happening.